Greetings, seekers and life travelers, and welcome to Life Mastery TV, your source for inspiration, empowerment, and fulfillment. My name is David McLeod. I am your Life Mastery Coach, and I'm really excited today because we're going to be talking about one of my favorite topics, passion. Now, one of the biggest challenges in our lives is to live according to a true purpose that emanates from the deepest essence of who we really are. When we discover at least one passion in life, and then we take action that is aligned with that passion, well, guess what? Magic starts to happen. The more we do this, the more likely we are to experience success in our lives and the fulfillment and happiness that inevitably comes with that. And my guest today is someone brand new to this program and someone who really inspires me. And I'm sure she's going to inspire you too. Her name is Ana Pereira. As a motivational public figure, Ana's inspirational posts are known worldwide. Through her Facebook page, Circles of Inspiration, she has touched the lives of over 700,000 people. Now, think about that for just a second. All right, time's up. Now, following her calling to truly make a global change, she co-founded an amazing platform called the Wellness Universe, the world's first one-stop online directory and resource center to support and promote whole health and well-being on a global scale. This unprecedented platform connects world changers to seekers of total wellness. In all her work, Ana promotes and encourages empowerment, authenticity, and attachment to spirituality as core building blocks to achieve anything you dream. So please join me in welcoming Ana Pereira to our show. Welcome, Ana, and thank you so much for joining me here today.
Thank you, David. I am so honored to be on your show. I was so happy when you asked me, so thank you very much.
Oh, well, it's my pleasure and my honor for sure. But that number, 700,000 people, I mean, that's a lot of lives touched. And I bet that it somehow, all of that came about because you discovered a passion in your own life that you chose to follow, and you took some action of your own in order to connect with people and therefore create some success. How about we start there? Why don't you tell us a little bit about how that came about?
Sure. Well, I have a very diversified background because I've kind of been a serial entrepreneur all my life, but I started off being blessed by God with a talent for art. And believe it or not, people who know me from the Wellness Universe and see me as an inspirational person, they don't really know the background of how I got to be there. And it's really interesting because as an artist, fashion was my thing. So I merged the two, and I was very passionate about expressing myself, and I would hand paint clothing. From there, I went into a real niche area of creating t-shirts for women that were an expression of who they were. So I would do custom t-shirts for women in the early part of my 30s. And then I developed that into a more spiritually based collection of t-shirts where I would have the word like blessed on a t-shirt, but it was all about, really feeling good and being, acknowledging and being grateful for where you are in life and for everything that you have. So my passion kind of led me down the journey it took me on was to be expressive of myself and what I love to do, and then to create for others. And then after that, I created a jewelry collection that was also spiritually based. And from there, I allowed my real passion to show through. And that was sharing my motivational, inspirational quotes with the world through the Facebook platform. And from there, it kind of evolved and developed into where I'm at now, and where I work with all of these amazing, like you, people that are changing the world. So surrounding myself with other inspirational people, and coaches, therapists, authors, speakers, people who are healers, being in this sphere by following my passion got me to be with this community, this amazing community of people. And I think that if I didn't really follow that path and really listen to what I was passionate about and just took a common roadway, like getting a job, getting a career, playing it safe all the time, I would never be as happy as I am today.
Yeah, I can hear it in your voice, and I can definitely see it in in that beautiful shining smile that you have on, and you just, your energetic presence. I get that. So the idea, so it started out really as a way of helping people to express their self, their essence, who they really were. And you said you did this with custom T-shirts. Is that right?
Yeah.
So how did that work exactly? I mean, did you actually paint a unique T-shirt for every person?
I did. I actually had a customizable T-shirt collection, and the funny thing was, it was called Super Sexy because I believe what's really sexy about a woman is her confidence, and that's what makes any woman really sexy. And from there, it was about expression. So you had something to say, you put it on your shirt. So I had a website, mysupersexy.com. My car was pink. I had glitter on my car. I had rhinestones on the back of the car. It was really glitzy. It was all all about fabulousness and rhinestones and, just expressing yourself in a fun way.
Right.
And actually, my car was this color, this color pink. And the women would just order, directly from the website what they wanted written on the shirt, what color they wanted it. I would airbrush. I would custom cut stencils by hand. Wow. Yeah, and as an artist yourself, you can appreciate this. I'd sit there with the X-Acto knife and I'd cut stencils out. I'd airbrush the shirts, and then I'd put all of this glitter and oingapach on the shirts and the rhinestones, and people would come out with their own custom shirt. Yeah, that
was pretty amazing. And I'm imagining that because they were custom made, they weren't exactly cheap T-shirts either. These were like high-end T-shirts. And that's an awesome idea. I really like the way that you thought that through, and you came out with something that was very unique. And I imagine the women who bought these said, nobody else has this shirt. This is me. I mean, I really like that idea. I think that's a brilliant, brilliant idea, and something that I would like to see more of us do. Find a way of helping people to become more unique in the way they present themselves while still connecting to the fact that they are one with everyone else. I think that's a beautiful thing. And so then you moved into the jewelry thing, and how did that transpire?
That only transpired because following my passion, following my inner calling, I, at one point in life, I was just like, I stopped the search, because I think you have to stop searching and you have to open your heart up also to your passion and your desires and what you really want to have in your life, and stop searching for it and allow it to come to you. So the jewelry collection happened actually because I ended up meeting my husband, my future husband, getting married within 8 weeks, and then moving to Europe. And from that point, I couldn't really maintain creating custom shirts and having a T-shirt collection, because at that time also it was more of like the spiritually based T-shirt collection. Right. And so then I just created a jewelry collection because it's easier to create that and bring stuff back and forth and be able to make that. So that's how that came, because it's always about an expression of my passion. And I always want to make somebody feel good. And a side note about when I did do my T-shirts and I used to do craft shows and things like that, I used to have customers and clients follow me around to see what I had for the next show or whatever. And people would come to me and they said, I really feel the good energy off of this. Like, I want to know, like, I want the next one that you have this week. I want the new design, because the intention was there. So through my passion of making those shirts, my intention was really on there. And if you believe in, energy healing or Reiki or any of that, and I didn't know anything about any of that before, by the way, I didn't know what Reiki was or really much of that. And people actually felt the energy from the clothing.
That's beautiful. Yeah. And there's something that you said here, and I want to capture it because it was just a beautiful statement. I think you said, and I'm not sure I'm going to get the words quite right, but it was, at some point you got to stop searching and just allow it to come into your life. I think that's a beautiful thing, and I want to discuss that a little bit, because it sounds to me like that's what you did. That was your own path. It seemed to me, the way you were describing this, you were trying to somehow codify or quantify or qualify your passion in some way. And that was what the search was all about. And so you stopped that process and then just allowed the passion to come in. So just tell us a little bit about that, because I'm sure other people would want to understand that process.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, David, as we go along in life, as a child, we're fearless. We just follow whatever we want to do and we just do it. If we want to jump in a puddle, we jump in a puddle until, we get scolded. And then we develop these fears because of a repercussion that happens to us, correct?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we get conditioned, and it's really hard to come away from those conditionings. And the funny thing is, it can only take one moment in time, one event to happen to condition us, and we can carry that condition with us for the rest of our lives. Right. Until you say to yourself, what is it that's stopping me from experiencing that joy of the jumping in the puddle again? And who's to stop me now? And what's going to happen if I do?
Right.
So, I mean, I think really at some point you have to say to yourself, what do I really want? And how am I going to experience happiness? How am I going to experience joy? How am I going to experience the fullness of what the divine put me here to do and feel? And that's where you have to say, okay, I have to tap in to what I'm passionate about and put aside the fears and put aside, the judgments or what I think or what I believe or the perceptions. And once you tap in, you drop into that space, you open up a whole new dimension. Because the funny thing was, when I said that to myself, and I said, because it happened when I opened myself up to the relationship. And that's how everything happened. When I opened myself up to a loving relationship with my husband before meeting him, then that's when everything unfolded. Because I really, truly wanted to have somebody with me for the rest of my life, a teammate, Right. And then everything else started happening. And my passion was to live a happy and blessed life. And as we spoke a minute ago, I mean, I truly do. I truly do. And you really just have to put everything else aside, drop into yourself, forget about what people think, forget about what's expected of you. And, of course, don't forget about your responsibilities and things. I'm not saying go crazy, but within reason, you have to really say, what do I want? And it was so simple for me. It was, I just want to be happy.
Yeah, that's really what it often boils down to for pretty much everybody, I would think. I just want to be happy. And why am I not happy? I mean, you talked a little bit about this at the beginning, about how we tend to like jumping in the puddle and then getting scolded or getting some repercussions and reactions of people that, tell us that how we're showing up isn't okay. And, the adults in our lives have a lot of power. They usually it's our parents or, some caregiver or something, but somebody that we look up to, someone we truly want to please, we want to make them happy. And as a result, when they show any kind of unhappiness, we take it on as our own fault and we try to fix things and try to improve things so that their lives are better. Meanwhile, what happens to us? And this is the common denominator, I think, that affects almost every human on the planet. I think we all go through this, no matter what culture we live in, no matter what country we live in, no matter how old we are, we can all relate to stories of that type. So I think it's really important, as you say, to allow my true nature to come out. And I think that's what your journey was all about. You were saying, I need my true nature to come out, and I want to help other people have their true nature come out. Because enough of this trying to please other people stuff. Mm-hmm. All it does is it puts our beliefs about the things that we don't like about ourselves back into shadow. And when it's in shadow, then we think it's hidden away. We think it's gone. We think it's no longer having an impact in our lives. But the truth is, it's still there. It's still very much alive, and it still impacts us. And so what we have to do is we have to get underneath all that stuff. We have to find those old wounds. We have to heal them, because ultimately that's really the only way we're ever going to be able to get back to this thing that you wanted in the first place, which is happiness. Mm-hmm. That's how it all works together. So let me ask you this. we've been talking about passion as a particular thing. And first of all, I guess I'd like to understand from your perspective, what actually is passion? What is it to begin with? And secondly, why is it so important to find a passion?
That's a really good question. And you know what? I don't think I've ever answered that question before, because it's sort of like, everybody, it's kind of like that canned thing, like find your passion, or, go after your passion, or, live in your passion, people already. But I think if I had to describe what a passion is, it literally is something that you look forward to all the time and you don't get bored of it. Like, it's more than an emotion. It's almost like a primal drive, if you will. Just like you get hungry, and that's a physical thing. Passion is almost like a physical thing, because it's almost like you can't help but do it. Like when you're a musician, you cannot help but pick up the guitar, for instance, and play a song when you feel inspired. It's something that drives you all the time, and it's the underlying current for no matter what you're doing. I really don't know how to explain it other than that.
Well, I'm going to ask you to pause there for a second. I think you hit on a pretty powerful phrase, and that is primal. Oh, I'm sorry, I can't remember the other word.
Drive.
Primal drive. That's it. I was going to say primal force, but I knew that wasn't it. Primal drive, and I think that's really important. And one of the things that I believe about all human beings, whether they believe it or not, this is what I believe, that every single one of us starts off in the spiritual world with a particular objective, that we are going to come here to experience something in particular. And we may, while in that spiritual state, define what it is that we want to experience. For example, in my case, it might have been, I want to really understand the importance of knowing the truth of who I really am. That is going to be my passion. And I maybe even describe it as such in the spiritual world. But then what happens is we go through that process of transforming from spiritual form into physical form. And in the process, we kind of forget. We forget that entire plan. And so a good part of our life is all about going through a bunch of experiences, trying to remember that plan. I think that's really what you're talking about here. And I think that's what the primal drive is. It's that thing that says, oh, it's not over here, it must be over here. We just keep trying things until, here it is. This is what I was looking for. And when you find it. I love it. I love this idea. And this idea of primal drive is really important. And so once you find it, all of life kind of transforms. All of a sudden, your entire life starts to make sense. Everything is just, wow, that's why I did that. That's why I did that. That's why I did that. Oh my God, now it all makes sense. And I see the trajectory. It's amazing. So now, the second part of the question was, why is it so important?
I think it's so important because at the end of a passion, or in the journey of a passion, because a passion is kind of like when you're living it, it doesn't end. There's no end to the journey. It's almost like you are looking for something, and it's the process of creation. Passion's result is the process of creation into something, and it usually benefits you and other people. So to me, that's how passion really manifests itself, is when you're doing something that makes you feel your best and it makes somebody else feel good. And so for me, why is it so important? That's the foundation of who I am and what I do and why we have the Wellness Universe. It's because if you're living in your passion, not only do you end up happy, but you create happiness for others. And to me, there's no other point of living other than that. And that's the full expression of love, if you ask me. And that's why it's so important, because it makes the world a better place.
Well, wow. What can I say? That's beautiful. And yeah, I totally resonate with what you say. And you're right. I think that, well, I shouldn't say you're right. I will say I agree with you that passion is like the spark plug for creation. It's the thing that gets creation going. And this is one of the reasons that I call, we have this thing called the passion, action, success engine. I call it an engine for that very reason. Passion is like the spark plug, and then you have the next part, which is action. Now, of course, you can have this passion and you can be all excited about something all day long, but if you're not doing something about it, if you're not taking action, particularly inspired action in the direction of your passion, then you're just kind of daydreaming. That's really all you're doing. So now let's talk about the action component. How do we get ourselves so excited that action is just a natural thing?
David, let me tell you something. There's no bigger injustice that I see people doing for themselves or for others. And sometimes I come across a little strong because of my encouragement of people for what I see for the potential I see in them. And I come off a little strong because they're not ready to hear the vast magnitude of potential outcomes that are out there for them, because they're so working in the process of what they're doing. Yeah. And they're so wrapped up because they've been in the hamster wheel that they cannot get out of the hamster wheel to say, oh my gosh, I can run that way and seeing all this, land and beauty that, God put here, because they're in the hamster wheel. So it's like as if you were, I like to use, examples. So it's like as if you were a singer. And if you're in your bedroom singing into your hairbrush and you're developing your vocals, you're developing your skills, you're creating your own unique sound, you're doing all of these amazing things that would blow anybody away, but you're in your room singing into your hairbrush. Now, it's great if that brings you happiness, and that's great. That's fine. It's wonderful, because we all have our limit of what makes us happy and what fulfills us as well. So not everybody has to be, tied to a record label and videos, and nobody, not everybody wants to be Beyonce or, Lady Gaga. But if you do want to share, you have to get out of your bedroom and you have to go down to, the cafe and do an afternoon gig, or, sing at your friend's wedding, or, at a bonfire, get it out there and share it. And the biggest injustice is when I see people have their own fears or their own limitations, their own belief systems getting in the way of living in the full expression of their passion, because then they're not able to share it with as many people as they can, therefore bringing more love into the world, therefore inspiring more people. And that's really what it's about. And that's empowerment.
Well, I happen to agree with you. And I know that there are people out there who maybe they don't want to be out in front. They don't necessarily want to be the ones who are out there with the target on their back, leading the way. They'd rather just be followers. And I think, that's okay too.
That's needed. That's needed though. Everyone needs support, but owning what you own in your box, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I remember reading Neil Donald Walsh's book, The Conversations with God, years ago. And one of the things that he talked about in that book was, we really don't know. We have a pretty good idea of what our own individual purpose is, but we absolutely don't know what the purpose is of somebody else. Even if they tell us, if they tell us what they think their purpose is, we still don't know for sure what it is. So it's really not our place to judge when somebody doesn't seem to be living up to what we think their purpose is. And he pointed out one example. He says, what if there's a guy who's homeless, who does nothing with his life until one day he suddenly has an idea and he writes a book, And of course, this was God talking to Neil Donald Walsh himself, who had done exactly that. He'd gone through his life, he'd become a homeless man and all this. And really, I thought about this a lot. I've thought about this in terms of what happens, like somebody is in a wheelchair, let's say. And in my mind, I'm thinking, oh, that poor guy, he's in a wheelchair. But I shouldn't be saying, oh, that poor guy, he's in a wheelchair. Right. What I should be saying is, I wonder what he's here to do. That would it be a more relevant question for me? You know, same thing when I see someone who has no arms and no legs and who climbs a mountain. This has happened. There's a guy who's out there doing that, and he comes and he does speeches. And I mean, how many ways can we be inspired by somebody like that? So every single one of us has the potential of being an inspiration, whether we are out front or not. So I want to give people permission to find their own way to live their passion. That's really an important piece for me. And I love the fact that you sometimes come on strong, because that is who you are. That is an expression of your own passion and your own love for people, and the fact that you can see so much potential in so many of us. And we need people like you to do that. So thank you for being that way.
Oh, thank you. And thank you for being that person.
Well, you're welcome. And, you know, I don't mind being out front, as you can tell.
Oh, but, I know, David.
I'm very comfortable out there. But some people aren't, and I understand that. And I've been like you. I've tried to encourage people to get out front and, you know, take a risk and, you know, maybe take a look at the fear that's keeping you from that. I got to stop doing that, because not everybody wants that sort of thing.
You know, David, and it's not even that everybody has to be a front runner or a leader or, the person out in front, but just owning it enough to where your expression really fulfills you. And again, if you like to be in your bedroom singing into your hairbrush, that's great. But maybe you'd be a great backup singer. Maybe you just, sing for your family or sing for your friends and then just light up their faces. And that's enough. So it doesn't have to be, again, like on a record label, it doesn't have to be a big grandeur way of expression. But if there's just some way, go to the hospital and sing to this, sing to the sick, there's so many ways that you can really live your passion where you're bringing more love to the world and being an inspiration.
Right. And that's the point, isn't it? Bringing more love to the world, trying to create a space where people really want to be, want to live, and have them just experience a little bit of happiness. That's really what we're all here to do. And I think that's pretty amazing, actually. So then once we've got the passion and the action going, how does the success piece come into play? What happens? How do you see that transpiring?
Well, I love the word success because success is a very mutable term. And in my opinion, success is when you can do something and feel good about it. That's success to me. Yes, there's all of the standard typical ways to define success. There's a certain financial platform that you hit or a certain lifestyle that you live. And those are the money-based versions of success. But success is really about, for example, I told you we're involved in the soccer business. If you were in let's say a third division team, if anybody knows anything about soccer, and then all of a sudden you got it to the bottom of the first division team within 2 years, that's tremendous success. You have gone from a third division team through second division and made it to first division. That's a huge success. You might be the last one on the table, but you are in the first division. So success is all relative. And as long as you're in a place that's better than you were, and you've achieved some sort of goal and you feel good, that to me is success in whatever it is that you're doing. And it could be something small. It could be something big. It could be, keeping your goldfish alive. Some people don't have much success with that. You know what I mean?
So really, if I understand you correctly, you believe that success is just, it has really nothing to do with money, although those are certain kinds of metrics that might
markers.
Yeah. And really, from my perspective, I think that the only person who can define my success is me. It might look successful to you and it might not feel successful to me. It really is a personal thing. And I really like what you're saying about that. You measure your own success and you define when you have achieved the level of success that you're interested in. So each of us has our own metric and our own measuring stick and our own deciding point as to when we've achieved the thing that we can call ourselves successful. So great, I like that. And yeah, I like the idea too that I don't have to think of my success in terms of money at all, or what it might look like to somebody else. That's a powerful freedom, I think, a liberating perspective.
Yeah. And I think that's really a key, because success is always changing anyway, and you don't even know what it's going to be. Like if I say, I'm going, I'll be successful once I make the first, I don't know, gadget or whatever, and it's already 10 years past and somebody else has made it. So if somebody else has made it, then where does that leave you? I think there's no ending to success or no finalization. Right. I think you have to understand to appreciation and gratitude, and the feeling that you want to experience, and the outcome that you want from whatever it is that you're doing, in order to put success in proper perspective. Right. Because that's really what it is. And you're not successful if you're not happy, like you just said. Mm-hmm. It's very personal. And yeah, you could experience not feeling successful, but I see you as tremendously successful. This is why stars burn out. This is why, people turn to, drugs and through all the success they look like they have, certain like celebrities, for example, that, turn to drugs or commit suicide or really fall off the deep end. And you're like, oh my gosh, they were so successful, but they weren't happy. Right. Success to me is a version of happiness and a version of joy, and you have to have gratitude to go along with it for it all to kind of work together.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's kind of like what I talk about in my whole life mastery program. People ask me, well, what is life mastery? And I tell them, well, it's kind of like enlightenment. But the problem with the word enlightenment is that many people think of it as an end state. It's like, one day I will be enlightened and that's it, I'm done. And I think, no, it doesn't work that way. And so that's why I chose the phrase life mastery as opposed to enlightenment, because to me, it's about mastering the skills necessary to live a fulfilling life. But that doesn't mean I ever reach a level where I am the life master and that's it, I'm done. It's a journey. It's not a destination. And that's kind of what you're talking about with success. Sure, I may reach a certain level of success right now, but tomorrow I may decide I want to move, maybe change direction altogether and try success in a different way. Or maybe I want to increase my level of success in the same paradigm that I'm in right now. So I think this is a really important thing for people to understand, that it's not really an end state. I don't think there is an end state of life mastery or enlightenment or success. These are just journeys that we're all taking. And, we can enjoy the journey for itself, and not necessarily worry about what kind of destination we might arrive at.
I love what you just said. And, it's because everything's always changing. We're not static. We don't live in a static life. Just like the sun rises and sun sets, it'll still rise at a different time. It'll still set at a different time on a different day of the year. So environment, time moves on, and it shifts us no matter what. So Absolutely. There's always going to be a different push to something else, the different seasons of life, the different interests, how our lives and the dynamics of our lives change, having children, having parents age on us. So things change and shift all the time, and we always have to remember that. So when we put it in our head what we want, we can't lock ourselves into it, because things always change and different things appear.
Right. Yeah, that's very true. I mean, we talk about, so you're talking about time and seasons and how the sun comes up and goes down at different times of the day. That, to me, is a result of revolution of the earth around the sun. Now, it's probably the wrong word, but I'm going to use the word revolution, because in revolution is evolution. Everything is in cycles. We're constantly in cycles. And Everything about our lives is in cycles, right down to the vibration of our DNA, and the cells within our body. Everything is, vibrating at a certain frequency. It's all cycles. And so once we complete one cycle, something new happens in the next cycle. And that's really what I think all of life is about. It's just continual evolution in the revolution. I'm gonna have to trademark that phrase, I'm afraid.
You do that.
Anyway, so the other thing that we mentioned in our talk is about sharing our passion with others. Why do you think that is so important, and how can it help us in our overall process?
Again, I think that, we are all human beings here, having an experience of life. And whether we like it or not, we're all together on this planet, and we're all here for a purpose and a reason. And we are going to have experiences, whether we take them or they're given to us.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that it's really important that you express yourself and you create experiences for yourself to live in your happiness, because that's how you share love, and that's how peace gets spread around the world. Because when you are living in a happy place, or from a happy place, or from a place of passion, and, exuding happiness, it shows that you love your life. You end up loving the people around you. I mean, people who are not living in their passion, or who are just living, a mundane life and just going through the motions, they typically are not really happy about anything either. And they're not really passing that vibe forward. They're passing a mundane vibe forward. And I think that this is what we all need, because, down to the vibration of the plants, when you show something love, it flourishes. It gets nourished on an emotional level, helps it to thrive and evolve. This is what we need for humankind. I mean, we have to look at our brothers and our sisters that walk the earth with us. It's about the totality of the planet. It's not just about, us. And when we are living in our passion, and why it's so important is because it really helps the whole earth and all of humankind to evolve and be their best when we are living in our passion and sharing that.
Right. Obviously that's beautiful. And that's really, I think, what we're all here to do, is to try and create a better world, even if we don't necessarily all behave in a way that appears to be creating a better world. Sometimes we make mistakes. Sometimes we do things that hurt other people. But ultimately, I think our motivation, our deepest motivation, is either to create or to receive love, to give or receive love. So there's another thing that I want to say about this sharing piece, the sharing of the passion. There's two benefits to me personally when I share my passion. And the first of those is, if I share my passion with you and I tell you all the things that I'm excited about and the things that I want to do and stuff, and you and I are good friends, then if you see me slipping off that passion trail, if you like, you can always kind of give me an elbow in the ribs and say, hey, what's going on? What's going on? You said you were going to do X, Y, and Z. What happened? So in other words, by sharing, I create someone who can be an accountability partner for me, someone who can help me to keep myself in the right direction. That's one benefit to me. But there's another benefit that people don't maybe think about all that much. And that is, well, I'll explain using a little story. When I heard you talking at the beginning about your t-shirt business, I found myself getting inspired.
Oh, thanks.
And I mean that. And what I'm saying is, you were sharing with me something that you were passionate about. And I have no need or desire in this case to try and hold you accountable in any way about that. But I noticed that I was feeling kind of impassioned. I said, wow, if she could do that, then I can probably do this. So that's the other benefit to me. When I share my passion, I inspire other people. And that's something that I think is really important. If we can inspire each other in this way, we have no choice but to create a better world. It just has to happen that way. So we're mutually we're supporting each other with our energetic exchange of our passion, and we're getting benefit by having people support us in our own passion.
Amen, Brother David. Exactly. And that really helps everything to evolve, because then we create, new music, new art, new ways of life, new ways to experience things. The more that we uncover and discover things, it's like a ladder. It's a chain that never ends. Once something new is discovered or put out there in the world, somebody else can build on that and build on that and build on that. And that's how, we have such diversity in everything that we do, everything that look at where we are in the age of technology. All the creative outlets that are out there, all the creative people, all the people that are so inspiring, the modalities of just anything, from being able to be a creator of anything and all the tools and resources that we have available to us, to what we engage with on a daily basis. To me, you cannot be more of service to humankind above being inspirational.
Mm-hmm.
You can help somebody else to move forward in their path by inspiring them. That's, to me, the greatest gift that you have given back to the universe for them allowing you to be here.
Exactly. And there's something else here I just want to say is I remember the first time someone told me that I inspired them. I found myself, this was a long time ago, I said, what? How on earth did I do anything that inspired you? I never ever thought of myself as an inspiration. And it took me quite a few years to understand that every single one of us on the planet has the power to inspire other people. And it doesn't have to be something, grandiose. It doesn't have to be like the guy with no arms and no legs who climbs a mountain. You don't have to be that out there in your inspiration. But you can touch people just by being who you are and by sharing the truth of your own journey. That's really, I think, where the secret comes down to it. The idea that we're all on a journey. Every single one of us has a different story to tell. And each story has its own power to heal and to help other people. So I think we're duty bound, if not, well, we are duty bound, I think, to share the truth of our story. And besides that, I think we have no choice. We just simply want to share, even if we are a little bit afraid of what people might say about it. So I think this idea of being an inspiration is completely critical to creating the kind of world that we want to create. And so for me to inspire others, I have to keep myself inspired. How do you keep yourself inspired?
Oh my gosh, that's really not hard at all. I honestly am inspired by people. I really enjoy. I was that person who rather watch a high school talent show than go to a celebrity studded event of, major, talent and this and that. I love seeing homegrown, organic people still in touch with their passion, not, guided or misled by a manager or, the way they're supposed to do this or supposed to do that or plastic packaging around them. Yeah. So I just stay inspired by just everyday people and seeing people just do what they love and do it well. Doing it well, being confident in what you're doing, experiencing the people that, that we touch through the wellness universe and, people like yourself, David, that's what keeps me inspired. That's what keeps me inspired to keep going and to want to support, people like yourself and other healers and inspirational people and motivational people do the work they do. Because I see the results. I see that there are people out there doing it. So that keeps me inspired.
Yeah. Well, and that's wonderful. And so I'm going to ask you a little tougher question now. How do you inspire yourself? Mm-hmm.
It's just, I don't know. It just comes through me. I don't know how to, you just do it. I don't know, like a flower just grows out of the ground. It just knows that it's supposed to be doing this. I just do what I do.
Right.
And again, for some, maybe I come on too strong, but
Well, I think you come on as strong as you come on, and it's just how people respond to you. You know, you cannot take responsibility for how other people react. You know, this is one of the things that we're so busy sometimes, I think, trying to fit ourselves into how we expect or how we think other people expect us to show up, that we stop showing up authentically. And I get people telling me all the time, man, you're an intense guy. And I just say, nowadays, I used to be pretty sensitive to that, but now I say, thank you. Thank you for noticing. And it's true. I realize that I am intense. I feel everything intensely. But I'd rather have that than be the dead person I was so many years ago who felt nothing. You know? So I'm very grateful that people see me that way. And I'm okay with the fact that it might make them a little bit uncomfortable. I'm really okay with that because I'm not responsible for how they react to my intensity. Right. Especially when I know that I'm not coming from a place of trying to be harmful or hurtful. I'm just trying to be an open, out there, loving guy, just the same way that you are. Well, not a guy, but you know what I mean.
Well, last time I checked. Let me actually, something else did just come to mind about how do I keep myself inspired. I think once you commit yourself to projects or commit yourself to an accountability partner, like, I have Sherry Elise, my business partner for the Wellness Universe. I think that keeps me inspired as well, because once you commit to things and you want to have, you projects. I always use the word projects because it's just the best word. Missions, projects, movements, whatever it is. That helps me also to stay inspired, and working with, like, for example, Sherry, like on a daily basis, that helps me to stay inspired. Right.
Yeah. Well, and I'm inspired by you. And as I've said a couple of times already, and I'm really thrilled that you were able to spend the time speaking with me today. I think we've had a wonderful conversation about the whole passion, action, success piece. I hope that people will get a lot of benefit out of this.
I hope so too, David, because there really is nothing more important than living from that space of authenticity and expressing yourself and doing something that you love, because it really is about showing that child or that someone who thought that their life has passed them already, that no, you could do anything you want.
Right.
And allow them to express themselves in a manner that they exude joy and happiness.
Yeah, that's great. Well, I want to say thank you so much, Anna, for being here with me today. It's just been a real pleasure having you here and just having this beautiful, heartfelt discussion. Thank you.
Likewise. I can't thank you enough. Thank you, David.
And I want to thank all of you for watching this show today and for participating in the program. I see we've had a few people make some comments on the chat. Sarah and Alan, thank you both for sharing your thoughts. I appreciate that. Just to remind you, you can watch recordings of this and all other previous shows on my website at lifemasterytv.com. That's life-mastery-tv.com. As you go through your week, I invite you to remember and practice the Life Mastery mantra. Gratefully forgive the imperfect being you have been in the past. Gratefully accept the magnificent being you are right now. And gratefully welcome the evolved being you are becoming in each new moment. Until we meet again, I am David McLeod, your Life Mastery Coach, wishing you love, light, and blessings on your journey. See you next time.